In this part, we will discuss about the end of Cold War and India's policy or external policy. So basically, India's external policy was based on non-alignment. Cold War ended with the disintegration of Soviet Union on 25th December 1991. This brought end to bipolarity or bipolar political system in the world. It was assumed that in such a situation, the non-aligned movement will become irrelevant because there was no competition, there was no two superpower blocks. However, even now, the non-alignment movement has not lost its relevance, which we already discussed in our first chapter, and India continues to follow non-alignment while formulating its foreign policy. So, based on ideals of non-alignment, India tries to maintain peaceful, friendly, healthy and close relationship with other countries. Principle of peace and cooperation are the foundations of India's foreign policy. You just reminded. India has taken a number of steps to ensure world peace. According to the report of Progressive Step of Free India, the objectives of India's foreign policy have not changed. For example, the main objectives of Indian foreign policy, just I am telling you right now, you note it down for your future purpose. So, number one, the objectives are number one, to maintain territorial integrity, then to maintain and promote international peace and security. Number 3, to maintain friendly relations with neighboring countries. Number 4, to ensure the security of the people in India. Number 5, to increase trade and commerce with other countries. Number 6, to encourage decolonization. Number 7, to oppose racial discrimination and work for a socialist society. Number 8, to solve international disputes through peaceful negotiations. And then next number, to cooperate with international organizations. At present, the non-alignment movement has more than 100 members. Even Palestine is also a member of NAM, and more or less other countries, African and Asian countries, are trying to join with it. So do one thing, when I give the note, if you on your caption, then you find the spelling also, then it will help you. So next we discuss and we follow the Afro-Asian unity. I am just giving you some important lines about Afro-Asian unity, so you can keep it as your note. For example, India has been always showing a lot of interest in Afro-Asian unity starting from 1955, keeping an eye on the historical and cultural similarity. India emphasized the need to maintain friendly relations with neighboring countries. With this view, India worked towards improving relations with Southeast Asian nations. In 1947, India organized the Asian Relations Conference. In 1954, also India headed the conference of the International Control Commission. Nehru gave a lot of importance to unity among Asian countries for survival, for the development. India has been taking numerous steps to maintain unity among the Asian countries after Nehru. Strengthening regional cooperation is an important objective of India's foreign policy, external policy. India is an active member of South Asian Association for Reorganization, Restructuring, and different other things. So, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is SARC, has launched various small institutions, organizational setup, and SAARC was formed in 1985. SAARC have been able to take important step towards economic cooperation in the region. Along with SAARC, India is involved with many associations of Asia. India's relations with Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka are very good to some extent. You should remind that, yes, good, but to some extent. India has recently tried to improve its economic relations with Southeast Asian countries by taking about lookist policy. Just underline it, lookist policy, very nice policy. India has been praised by the international community for trying to maintain strong relations with neighbors. India's relationship with its neighbors is based on 5 following principles. Note it down. Number 1, India will provide support to countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka without expecting anything in return. This is a very remarkable point of the lookist policy. But more or less, return concept is within bracket, you know that as a student of politics. Second point, no country in South Asia will allow its territory to be used against other South Asian countries. Number 3, no country will interfere in the internal matters of other countries. Number 4, all the countries of South Asia will respect the sovereignty and integrity of other countries. This point you should underline. Next point, all disputes will be solved by peaceful bilateral negotiations. So, in the Afro-Asian Conference held in Bandung 1955, India established its relationship with the newly independent countries of Asia and Africa. India's independence led the South Asian countries to dream about their independence. Do you know that? That was the vital point. Because whenever you see that your next door state or country is free, you are also trying to free yourself like that, because we always hope for the best things. When apartheid came to end in South Africa in 1992, India was one of the first countries to lend support to South Africa and the leadership of Nelson Mandela. So it is another vital information to you. Under India's initiative, the action for resistance to invasion, colonization, colonialism and apartheid was formed at the NAM summit held in Zimbabwe in 1986. So you should take it down as Africa, AFRICA. It's a small form of this organizational setup. And this organization and the Afro-Asian motto, the Afro-Asian aim, has several principles also, like the non-alignment was one of the principle. The states, those who follows these ideas, they should abide by should go through non-alignment. So let's discuss again non-alignment for a very brief way. Non-alignment, this principle is seen as India's gift to the world. You should write it. This principle, non-alignment, is seen as India's gift to the world to adjust with the Cold War politics. India formulated this principle, but even after the end of the Cold War, this principle continued to be an important part of India's foreign policy. The next principle followed by these Afro-Asian states is opposition to imperialism and colonialism. After hundreds of years of bitter experience under the imperial rule, India decided to oppose colonial and imperialism. India played an important role in encouraging countries of Asia and Africa to become independent. Next, we should follow that these African countries also support UN, United Nations Organization, in establishing world peace. Even India is one of the founding members of UN. India always emphasized the importance of UN in maintaining world peace. According to India, international disputes must be solved through United Nations organizations, rather fight or war or other things. It is better to do negotiations, goodwill, good office, other things. We already discussed Jojo is better than war. Next, we find legally achieved goals by these states, like inspired by values of Mahatma Gandhi. India wanted international disputes to be sorted in a legal way. India opposes violence, war, and power politics and supports peaceful and non-violence methods. Panchshil is the product of the such thinking. So we should read this, we should note it down. Next, if we write that maintaining friendly relations with other countries preferable for India. India preferred to maintain friendly relations with other countries without becoming a part of any military alliance like NATO or Warsaw Pact. With this aim, India signed a number of bilateral treaties and agreements in the field of politics, economy, culture, science and technology. Yes, and it is really good thing. Now, the objectives of India's foreign policy, external policy. The objectives of India's foreign policy was multi-dimensional. These are not static. They may change with changing time and circumstances. An important aim of India's foreign policy is to safeguard India's territorial integrity. India does not believe in any compromises in this case. That means to violate its territorial areas and to provide safety to its territory is the primary aim of India and India's external or foreign policy. India has always worked for world peace. India supports solving all disputes through peaceful negotiations. Similarly, India does not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. Never. India has always tried to maintain friendly relations with neighboring countries. Another objective of India's foreign policy is to oppose all kinds of discrimination based on race, color, and religion. When we find Indo-China relations, peace and conflict and other things, we definitely understand that India has Indo-China relations. Just what should I say? The relation between India and China is very old. There has been cultural exchange between these two countries from a long time. India was one of the first countries to recognize Communist state of China in 1949. That was the main thing. Nehru focused to build friendly relations with China from very beginning. Many Indian leaders did not like this. For example, the first Home Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was very suspicious about Chinese intentions, and we find it really at present time what is going on. Expressing these doubts in the letter to Nehru, he said, "Though we think of China as friend, China does not think so. It is a diplomatic way of thinking." On the other hand, Nehru never thought that India will face any threat from China. And there is something good between the states. It is worth to be noted that to maintain peaceful relations between the two countries, paramilitary forces were posted in place of army in Indo-China border. On 29th April 1954, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Mr. Lai jointly declared the Panchashil Doctrine. This helped improve the relations between India and China. There was constant interaction between the leaders of these two countries. However, the relations did not stay good for long. This was mainly because of two issues. The first is border dispute between the two countries during British rule. The border was defined by McMahon Line in 1914, but China said that a decision taken by an imperial power is not valid. The dispute is about the 4,200 kilometer western and eastern border at the foothills of Himalayas. In the west, China claims Aksai Chin area of Ladakh, and in the east it claims major parts of Arunachal Pradesh. At that time, Arunachal was called Northeastern Frontier Province NEFA. China occupied Aksai Chin from 1957 to 59 and constructed a road. While leaders of both the countries met many times, they failed to find out any workable solutions. Exchange of gunfire took place between the armies of India and China. Another factor for worsening the Indo-China relations is Tibet issue. In 1958, there was an armed protest in Tibet against Chinese occupation. While India did not respond to Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1950, it did not support it either. The uprising in Tibet was suppressed brutally by Chinese army. In 1959, the religious leader of Tibet, Dalai Lama, appealed for political refuge in India. A large number of Tibetans entered India as refugees. India allowed this, and it affected India-China relationship in a negative way. China accused India of allowing anti-Chinese activities in India's soil. Therefore, India-China War in 1962, where we find China attacked India on the western and eastern frontier on 20th October 1962. Chinese army succeeded in occupying some important areas of Arunachal Pradesh. In November, China started the second phase of attack. While Indian army could counter Chinese army on the western front, they could not stop Chinese army on the eastern front, and China could reach till Tejpur in Assam. Do you understand now? Nehru almost believed that China will make Assam its part, and we are discussing within Assam. What a question, big question at that time. However, China declared a one-sided ceasefire and went back to earlier position. Nobody could understand why China retreated. It still remains mystery for the whole world. Either or, at present we can say that we are part of this. So, just a mere line. The India-China was exposed India's military weakness to entire world. It proved the military superiority of China. India even had to approach US and Britain for military help. Interestingly, the role of Soviet Union was neutral in this case. India's performance in the war was very disgraceful, but this also strengthened the feeling of nationalism. This war led to a lot of changes in the internal politics of India. After this war, a number of army officers resigned or took voluntary retirement. Nehru's defense minister V. Krishna Menon was forced to resign. Nehru had to face a lot of criticism. For the first time, a no confidence motion was raised in the parliament against the elected government. Congress lost in a number of by-elections held after the war. Along with Congress, some other parties or opposition parties were also affected by this war. The Indo-China War and the differences between India and Russia led to the difference of opinion of the Communist Party of India. The selection of the Communist Party of India, which was pro-Soviet, became close to Congress, and the other selection was pro-China. The pro-China selection formed the Communist Party of India. Some of these leaders were later arrested. So you can understand now what was a tremendous situation happened within India because of this war. The relations between India and China were bitter for almost a decade. In 1976, full diplomatic relations were established between India and China. K.R. Narayanan in 1976, just reminded, and India's Foreign Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee visited China in 1978 and 1979. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi went to China in 1988 after Nehru. Rajiv Gandhi was the first Prime Minister to visit China. After this, the leaders of the two countries have been constantly visiting each other's country for improving relations. India and China are regarded as the future superpowers. Very interesting line. For the development of these countries, interdependence is very much essential. So, live and let live line is here comes. Cooperation between these two countries is essential mainly for fuel and environment. However, there has been conflict between two countries for dominance in Asia. India's foreign policy very much depends on Indo-China relations. China's support in Pakistan's nuclear policy is a threat to India. India was, what should I say, was never opposing China, but China trying to implement various policies so that India can take it into granted and relation can improve. But maintaining peace and goodwill, there is no possibility to take it into granted all the policies. So you can understand these things. So that's all for today's class. We will discuss other things in our next classes about this India's external relations. We try to say here that external policy is a very diplomatic issue. Countries need to improve their external policies so that they can live together and live the other countries, and all countries will develop, because India is a big state which can be a superpower in future. And relevant issue is that we should make various important policies so that we can take our state into a superpower, and it's also the duty of the citizens to abide various policies and to understand these policies. So that's all for today's class. We'll discuss other things in our next class. आज के छुट्टी.